The Fox Big Noon Kickoff. It'll be the Big Noon Kickoff. The gang is in Iowa City. Iowa will host number 4 ranked Michigan on Saturday. A rematch of the 2021 Big Ten Championship game. Part of the gang there is Matt Leinart, the former NFL quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner. How's morale, Matt?
Morale's good. I'm good. Flight canceled last night. Got stuck in Minneapolis. Just got to Iowa City. Damn, but I'm doing good, man. I'm happy to be on with you. And I have. Before we start, I got a bone. I got a buddy has got a bone to pick with you.
Oh, okay.
My host Rob Stone.
Yeah.
I think you might have went after him a little bit a couple of weeks ago. He told me to tell you what's the deal, man.
Well, he does have my number, and he did text me, and he said, "I hear you."
Oh, he said,
what?
Yeah, he said you lost his number.
No.
He said you lost his number.
Nope. He texted me, and he said, "I hear you're coming after me," and I go, "Yep, I guess I did." And that's it. I'm not afraid. If you're afraid, buy a dog. I just said, you had Urban Meyer there in Nebraska. Press him a little bit on, Coach, are you interested in Nebraska? Would you be interested in Nebraska? So that's all. As a host on Host Crime, that's all that is, Matt.
I'm with you. Listen, it was interesting because we are very well aware of some of the fan bases who are going to make it difficult for Urban, in particular last week. But I'll tell you what, Nebraska. I mean, those fans. I mean, there were shirts, they were chants from the minute we started that show. We want Urban, and it was actually pretty funny. But I can tell you now, Dan, that he's got no interest in that job. That's for sure.
Why?
I think he's done. I think he's done. This is my opinion. We've talked. We talked even before he took the Jacksonville job last year, and he really, he really confided in Brady Quinn and myself. I know Brady's a guest of the show often, and we talked about just the NFL gig, and obviously it didn't work out for him, and we know the year that he had and the difficulties and the challenges, but. I don't know. I just think it was kind of a last try to see if he could do it at the NFL level. And I will say, I know he loves this job, being on TV. We got a great group of guys. I think he has the trust of all of us. I think he just feels a different way. But I mean, you never say never.
Well, I wonder. Steve Spurrier failed miserably in Washington and then went back and coached at South Carolina. I just thought, and I was told, if there's an opening at Arizona State, that would be a smarter move for Urban, because you could kind of go in there, and if the Pac-12 still exists, USC's out of there, UCLA's out of there, maybe you could, get 10, 11 wins there, and it felt like that was a sleeping giant, my source said, Arizona State. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, for anybody, I still think the weather, geographically, you're close to California, Texas on the other side, and the way with college football expansion, and it's an interesting, because USC and UCLA are leaving, and I'm sure they're not the only ones when it's all said and done, but there's a real path now with expansion for a Pac-12 champion to get in, and it's almost a path that's a lot easier. So. It's kind of schools like Oregon and Washington who are obviously, on the up and up. A school like Arizona State, I mean, gosh, we had our battles with them. Dennis Erickson was great there. Todd Graham won 10 games there per year. You can recruit there. There's good players in Arizona, too, in the state. You got Hamilton High, Chandler High. I mean, I lived there for 4 years. It was pretty good high school football. So I'm not I don't know if it's a sleeping giant, but I do think it's a place where you can turn around and you can be competitive and you can win. In particular, with the path now to the playoff in the future.
You got Michigan and you got Iowa. Feels like Iowa every year has one of those wins where you go, oh, man, Kirk Ferentz, he can still coach. Is that this game on Saturday?
Gosh, I'll tell you what, it is. It's really difficult to watch them on film, especially their offense. I mean, I don't need to tell you this, but it's a rock fight every time they're on the offensive side of the ball, and it's You know what? I respect Coach Ferentz is great. He's a great man. He's a great coach. He's legendary. He just doesn't care. We always joke in production meetings. We're just like, they will win 7-3 and they won't give a damn. Like that's a great game, guys. We'll go, next, it's just how they are. And it's no different. I'll tell you what, this team, it's the same thing as you expect. Their punter, Torrey Taylor, is a stud. And I know punting and special teams don't get a lot of play, but he has a huge impact for this team and should this weekend. Their defense is really, really good. Like, that defense is legit every year. They give Ohio State fits. I mean, they're obviously they struggled last year in the Big Ten championship game, but I think it'll be a really good game. I don't know what the line is. I think it might be 10 or 10.
Yeah.
Is it 10?
10 and a half.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I really believe that. I don't know if Iowa can generate enough points, but that defense will keep them in the game. But it's painful to watch at times.
Name, image, and likeness is always something that's there for these schools, and it feels like the bigger the school, the more riches, the more opportunities for everybody. But if name, image, and likeness was around when you guys were at USC, could you have kept everybody together at USC? And maybe another year, I don't know. And not to get into Reggie Bush and his Heisman as much as just you guys were rock stars there. But I wonder what that would have done to that team, given the fact that there could have been some great monetary gains for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a question I get asked a lot now that NIL is legal. I stayed all 5 years, so I would have been forced out, obviously. But yeah, I just think Pete had we had such a great run. I mean, gosh, from recruiting, national recruiting, winning, and obviously Reggie had his deal, and that set back USC for a handful of years. Just how it was handled, how NCAA handled it, and clearly Reggie is still feeling the repercussions of that with the Heisman and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, USC is. I mean, it's LA. The market. And now, I mean, you could fast forward it to those years, but you fast forward to now what Lincoln Riley has a chance to do and the resources he's going to have. And knowing that when USC when they're back, and they're not back yet, but when they're winning and it's fun and people are excited, and especially going to the Big Ten, like the exposure that will bring them and the competitive value that will bring to that school. I'm telling you what, USC is primed to really kind of elevate themselves back into what we were, 20 years ago. NIL, I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, I get asked all the time, like, well, how much money would you have made? I stayed in college to stay in college, but gosh, if I was a sophomore or junior, I probably would have stayed in college to make the amount of money that I could have made for sure.
Who's the person who showed up at practice or on the sidelines and you went, oh my God, such and such is here watching?
It's so funny. I was actually at USC practice last week. I did a sit down with Caleb Williams this past week. So I was at the tail end and I was talking to a couple of security guards. And when we were there, Pete had open practices. Every once in a while it'd be okay, Friday or whatever it was, he would close the practice. But, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever it was, we'd have 3,000. I mean, we'd have legit 3,000 people at practice, and it started getting a little dicey when agents, and at that time there started to be marketing guys showing up, and that's when I know Pete was a little like, okay, we got to slow this down a little bit because he started, those types of people were showing up. But to answer your question, I mean, gosh, we had, the stories. I mean, Will Ferrell came out all the time. Snoop Dogg came out all the time. Jerry Bruckheimer was in our locker room like weekly. I mean, he's the USC guy. He's in our locker room. I mean, it was, I've said this before, and I might've said this on the show, but like, it just was normal. It really was. It was normal. It was every day for us. Every day was thousands of people. Celebrities were there. The sidelines were packed with people. Pete embraced it because he knew what that did for USC recruiting and all those. He was not stupid. But we also handled our business. I tell everybody, I'm like, listen, you could paint this picture of how we were and we partied, which we didn't, but we partied every night. Like, it didn't matter. We showed up and we kicked everyone's butt for pretty much for a long time, except a couple teams, So we always handled our business.
I think you had a concussion against Arizona State. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
I don't know what you thought when you watched Tua on Sunday and what you saw last night, but from personal experience, what can you relate to those situations?
Well, first, gosh, just scary, really, really scary. And we know, I mean, concussions are nothing to play around with. And Tua, especially, gosh, just this is, the injury history, with the hip a couple of years ago and then concussions. First, I just hope he's okay. I've been kind of following the reports. I know he got released from the hospital and everybody was kind of up in arms. Why is he being released so early? Again, I'm not a doctor. And I've had a significant concussion against Arizona State where I was literally, I was stayed in the game because then there wasn't protocol and I wasn't coming out. And that, I mean, as an athlete, you're not coming out unless you absolutely just can't perform. I remember, just a little bit off top, I remember it was a run play and I went to the opposite side and I got sacked for like an 8-yard loss. And Pete was like, "Are you good?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good." And then I ended up getting my bearings and ended up being okay. But that was then. This is a different world now. And seeing the hit from the Bills game, clearly he was concussed. To what extent, that's something that doctors evaluate, and that's something that Tua only feels. I just would say this, and again, I'm like, there's a process and there's layers to concussion protocol, and I can't imagine the Dolphins didn't follow that Sunday. I don't know. Again, it's just speculation, and I could be wrong, but I just can't imagine that they didn't go through the layers of the team doctor, the third-party doctors, the trainers, and all of that in order for him to get cleared to play. But that being said, last night was really scary to see him, and obviously the fingers and that shot is still sketched in my mind. I hope he's okay. I'm sure I know there's going to be an investigation, all those things. So, but from personal experience, it's scary. I've played with one. I've had the lasting effects of one for months after a season. It's nothing to play around with, and I hope he's okay. And I hope that they just do their due diligence and make sure that when he's okay, like he's cleared to play and he's good to go. But it was scary, man, last night.
He's Matt Leinart, Fox, big noon kickoff, Michigan and Iowa. What are you doing with Hall of Goats?
Yeah, so it's been a fun little project, big project for me this year with NIL. I got approached by a former teammate of mine, Greg Carlson, actually part of those USC teams. He was building. He's a kind of the blockchain, Web3, this whole crypto. He's kind of a tech background and really kind of dove into this the last couple of years. We are currently building a Web3 blockchain college football video game that will serve serve NIL, will serve college football players. Think kind of the old school, NFL Blitz, the arcade style, NBA Jam, where it's fun and a lot of taunting and just fun, fun arcade style. So we're in development for that currently. We're signing current players to NIL deals currently. We have some legendary former players on board, and the game will launch next year. So we got a while, but you'll see some drops coming out this fall with some of our current players and some trailers and all that. So it felt like a real natural way for me to sort of get my hands involved in NIL and do it in a way where I know that I can help these players make money and do it in a right way and do it in a fun way. As you know, it's a wild business right now, and there's a lot of gray area, and there's a lot of good people, there's a lot of bad people, and I lived it. And I was obviously a part, as you mentioned, a part of the teams that probably could have really benefited off of it. So it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun to be a part of this, kind of on that side. Clearly, the big noon stuff is awesome, man. And, just trying to staying busy, Dan. Just doing a lot of stuff.
Tell Rob Stone to stop being soft, okay?
He is, man. He's soft as they come. Maybe just shoot him a text. I think he feels left out. shoot him a text, and I'll whoop him into shape this weekend.
No, I'll when I go to commercial break, I'll send him a text to say, "Got Leinart to do your dirty work here? You're soft."
I was texting this morning with your producer, and I'm just like, he was like, yeah, he came after me a couple weeks ago, all fun and games. I'm like, all right, I'll give you a shout out, man. We'll talk a little smack about you, buddy.
Hey, it wasn't fun and games on my part, Matt. I'm trying to teach the next generation how to do the job. I got Urban Meyer right there. They're chanting for Urban Meyer. Urban, are you interested in Nebraska? That's all. That's what this is all about, Matt.
He needs to be kept in line, man. So I'm happy you did that.
He's soft. And don't make me fly to Iowa City, because I'll do that if I got to
listen.
Him up.
He played. I might get in trouble. He's soccer. He played soccer. You know, like he's a little soft. So
yeah, he is. I think he was a yell leader for the football team in high school. I think he had like a sweater, white pants, and he would yell. Yeah, that's what Rob Stone.
The funny thing is I can totally visualize that.
Yeah, he's a typical pretty boy. Yeah, absolutely. But you can tune into the Fox Noon Kickoff, and you can see how soft Rob Stone is when he hosts that show. Matt, good to have you back. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
That's Matt Leinart, Fox's big noon kicker. See, Rob Stone, you want somebody to do your dirty work. Be careful what you ask for. Want to play with fire, Scarecrow?
You'll go to Iowa City.
I will go to Iowa City right after this show if I need to.
That'd be great if you showed up.
That would be kind of awesome.
You start calling out Rob Stone and you ask Urban Meyer, what about Arizona State?
Yeah, you want Arizona State? Yeah. What about Nebraska, Coach?